Hey, everybody, welcome to Dr. Boss. And from time to time, we love to highlight physicians who are out in the trenches and have their own practice and getting away from insurance based medicine and sharing their stories. And I'm so excited to have a former client, a good friend of mine, Dr. Steve Jones. He's a board certified family physician with advanced training in longevity medicine. Got his medical degree at UT, University of Texas at San Antonio. Completed his residency at John Peter Smith Hospital at Fort Worth, Texas. And he started up his own practice. And he had a brick and mortar practice for quite some time, but then it now runs itself and with his staff, with his nurse practitioners. And now he has ventured onto the online world with multiple state licenses. And he is the founder and medical director of Revive Longevity Center, which is helping entrepreneurs over 40 restore their energy, focus, and vitality through a personalized root cause approach to health. His practice builds cutting edge diagnostics, bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, and lifestyle optimization to support lasting strength, clarity, and performance. And we have him on the show because we want to hear about his story, how he got started, where he is today, and more importantly, how other doctors might be able to follow in his footsteps. So welcome to the show, Dr. Steve Jones. Steve, how are you doing?
I'm good, Mike. Hello, Ann. Thank you guys for having me. Hope I can be of some help today.
And you were one of the first doctors that I thought of to come on to our show because I'm just so amazed at what you've done. And you did this quietly. I get to talk to you from time to time. We had a mentor-mentee role in some capacity, and you went out on your own. And just like every time I get to see you, oh, I'm doing this, I'm working less, I'm opening this. I didn't even really know about this whole telemedicine aspect of it. I knew that you were working for some companies, but I didn't know that you now branched that out. I'm really looking forward to your story. And anything you want to say before we get started into the nitty gritty on the interview?
I say we get the nitty gritty into the interview, and thank you for being here. And what we really want to highlight on this episode is doctors who have decided to break free of the insurance shackle and how they're able to break out from their clinic and work on their business and to leverage their time so they can grow the business. And sometimes if I say that and get a little lost, so follow with me because that's what I saw Steve doing. And for me, at least 5 years ago, I was where you were at when I broke free from the insurance. So let's just kind of get to that stage where, Steve, you said I had a traditional family practice and now I had transitioned that to the nurse practitioner. What changes occurred in your mindset at that time to take that initiative?
And that's a really big question. It may take like 20 minutes to unpack all of that alone. It's a process. I didn't wander into this and think immediately, oh my gosh, I need to not see patients in my brick and mortar and hire a nurse practitioner. It just evolved to that over time. I think most of us are feeling a pain point about some aspect of medical practice. And for me, it occurred during COVID. I was turning 50. My wife was perimenopausal. She'll kill me if she hears me say that. But we were just kind of struggling. And I got interested in longevity medicine. About that time, I started getting some coaching from Mike. And I was thinking I was going to become a real estate tycoon. The more I got into longevity medicine and understanding like what some of those treatments were doing for my wife and I, the more I thought this is something that more people are going to want to do. So it really just kind of evolved organically. And I think that's probably a large part of my success. It never felt forced. It never felt like something that I had to do. I have wanted to do this. Like Mike, you might remember the day I told Vikram, I'm dropping the real estate, forget that. I'm going to start this Revive clinic and I'm going to do it virtually and add all these licenses. And that was probably, I don't know, 6 or 8 months of just struggling with what I was going to do.
I just want to kind of set the stage of it because I know kind of the backstory on it. Tell us about your clinic because you're not in a thriving metropolis. I guess that's probably the easiest way to say it. Talk about your practice. When did you start it? How long has it been? Tell us about the location where it's at.
I think it's a key part of it. I live in Graham, Texas, like Graham Cracker. We're about 100 miles west of Dallas-Fort Worth. It's a town of 8,000 people. I think there may be 25,000 in the county. It's a small town. I've been on the school board. We go to church every time the doors open. It's a tight-knit community. My kids were raised here. One of them was born in the hospital here.
Oh, wow.
I've delivered babies. I've been on call in the emergency room. I've taken care of hospital patients, done colonoscopies, all of the things that you might think of like full spectrum family medicine I've done in this town starting in 2001. And Mike, I remember when I was talking to you on one of our sessions, I really like what I do. And so it was a struggle to think about stopping what I was doing. And that might have been also part of the slow evolution of replacing myself in the brick and mortar. It's hard to do when you really like it. Mike, thanks for bringing that up. I think that's a key component to some of the struggle that I had to overcome. I felt an obligation, and I do today. I feel an obligation to my patients.
And that's why I brought it up, because I remember these conversations that we would have. It says, everybody knows me, Mike, doing something different. I don't know what people are going to say. There are people that I've delivered. You said you meet these people, and you're also struggling just because of the proximity of where you're at. Doing something different would have really taken you out of your comfort zone.
I mean, that's a really good point. I had to just ultimately decide a lot with your coaching that you can still help make sure there's great care. You can still be involved with it, but you don't have to be the one walking from room to room all day, Monday through Friday. And so that gave me a lot of freedom to start thinking outside of the box. It really did.
What I want to kind of hone in is that what was the straw, the last step that said, I got to do this? What was that straw?
Kind of a funny story. I came home from work one day and my wife, Christy, grabbed me by my scrub top and she literally shook me and she said, if you don't fix my hormones, I'm going to kill you. That lit a fire in me. I studied hard. I got education, learned about bioidentical hormones. A lot of stuff wasn't working for her. We finally found a fix, this program that worked so well. 4 weeks later, she's a new person. And that was really the light bulb moment, and where I was convinced that the best thing that I could do for the second half of my career is to take that type of medicine to more people. And so then I think the struggle was, well, how do you get into that without going broke in the process? That's a very real struggle. And so that's where getting licensed up and doing telemedicine came in for me. It's been able to pay the bills with less hours of work on the daily. And so because of that, I was able to slow myself out of a clinic while I brought in a nurse practitioner. And so finding the right NP to fit in a small town is a critical step. It can break your business in a heartbeat if you don't get that right. So I took some time, did lots of interviews, really was focused on finding the right person. Once I found her, it took about 8 months to get her convinced to move here. But it's all worked out great. She's now been here for 9 months. My patients have transitioned over. We did have some disgruntled people that have moved on from the practice, but it's probably less than 10%. In the meantime, she's helped to grow the practice. We're taking several new patients every week because they like having a female in the office where they can maybe get some extra types of care that I wasn't providing. So it's been good all around for my practice, for the community. A lot of it was just my mindset had to change from the fact that I didn't have to do it all myself all the time. It was okay to bring in somebody who could be leveraged underneath me with my guidance and with the program. And my practice of medicine has been quite successful in a small town. And so we didn't need to reinvent the wheel. I just needed to bring somebody into it, teach them the ropes and let them run with it. And it's worked really well. So now my brick and mortar pretty well runs itself.
So the brick and mortar is the one with insurance. Your nurse practitioner run that, and you no longer go in the office to see patient. Now you have switched to telemedicine.
That's correct. And so the telemedicine that I do is really two flavors. I do a little bit every day for other companies because they're big companies and they pay pretty well and I can make a good salary working a few hours per day. But then I'm also
what
building
company is
up
that?
my
Is that a
own.
telemedicine company? Oh, I see. Kind of like the other big teledoc or whatever company.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
exactly.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and so I've done that to try to bridge the gap, which has worked well while I've built up my longevity practice over the last 2.5 years now. And that's my passion project. I'm going slow and deliberate with it. Done a lot of study, added programs to it very carefully, and it's really doing well. It's starting to turn the corner to be really profitable and starting to get some traction out in other areas. We're pulling in some really fun clients to work with.
What did you learn from working for some of these big telemedicine companies? Was it just how they schedule things, framework? What can you share with us?
That's a great question. Part of what I've learned, Mike, is how not to do things. And I'm not being derogatory because I love the companies that I work for and their leadership, but they've gone through growing pains the last 2 years. And so you see how decisions made about rolling out new programs probably could have gone a little slower and a little more intentionally with them to have lessen confusion. That was a big lesson that I learned. Other parts of it were just kind of logistical, operational things. How do you go about scheduling clients? How do you get online with them? What services and platforms work? Which ones have a lot of technical glitches? I don't like the technical stuff. That's not my forte for sure, but I have obviously learned good and bad about those things.
And how did you structure? Are these two separate entities, or is there a mix and match? Do you have employees working on both, or are they completely separate?
Completely separate. Yes. That was some advice I got from you, Mike, was if you're going to start this longevity practice from the get-go, if you're thinking that you might want to exit from it someday, which is a dream for all of us, right? You need to have that set up as its own entity. And so I formed a professional LLC in Texas long before I started seeing my first patients.
Okay, so if a person goes from the local clinic, they then have to be transitioned as a new patient into Revive, as that works?
That's correct. And it's somewhat confusing for them, but I tell them, look, it's just like if you're going to go see the dermatologist or the orthopedic surgeon, it's a different practice. The longevity deal is a completely separate thing. I think that also helps with the explanation about it not being insurance based. A lot of people get heartburn about not taking insurance if you're treating them for hormones and doing bioidenticals. So it does help to create that different practice, and it's a separate HIPAA form, and you got to fill out all your past medical history again. It just gives them the onboarding experience that this is something separate and apart.
Talk about those early days when you transitioned or when you started Revive Longevity. Was it all smooth sailing? Did you have some hiccups along the way? Anything that you can share, I think, would be beneficial for the audience to listen.
Yeah, anybody that's done any business on their own, have any entrepreneurial spark at all, know that you work a lot more than you get paid for a long time. And
sounds like residency. Sounds like residency.
Intern year making, $4 an hour all over again. There has to be something about you that drives you. I'm a big fan of Alex Hormozy. He's very encouraging to me. He's a hardliner about if you suck it up and fight through long enough, you're going to win. You're only going to lose if you quit. And that advice has made me just fight through the times when I had to pull personal funds to put them into Revive to make payroll. That's happened more than 2 or 3 times.
He's my coach right now. I've signed up to be coached by him, and I do and he is what he is. I mean, even speaking with him, even one-to-one, he walked the line. He doesn't talk. He definitely walked the line. Probably the hardest working entrepreneur of all, but he said, you work hard and then that pays off. I want to follow up on what Mike was saying, is that we want to know about how you did it, but what was the struggle? Like you said, you had to pull out personal funds to cover payroll. What about, have you thought about when you launched longevity in the telemedicine business, were you worried it was not going to work? And how did you overcome that? Obviously, something new, taking you away from a sure thing, what you're seeing patient in the office under insurance. Every doctor worry about if they leave insurance, that they're going to have less income. How did you kind of compensate for that?
I think the main thing is I knew I always had something to fall back on. If worst came to worst, I'm a doctor. I'm board certified in family medicine. I have a good reputation in the community. I can go back to my brick and mortar. I can get hired on at the hospital. I don't think as physicians, we should be so scared to take chances, because worst case scenario is a dream job for 98% of Americans. It was always in the back of my mind. And this is a lesson that I learned from my dad. When we grew up, one of our summer jobs was roofing houses. Very hard work, and I've roofed a lot of homes. And my dad always said, look, if whatever you're doing in life doesn't work out, you can always roof houses. I never wanted to have to go back to roofing houses. That was so hard. But use that same analogy, I'm a physician. What a blessing it is to do that. Even if I'm having to deal with headaches of Medicare and Blue Cross Blue Shield, if I have to go back to that, that's so much better than roofing houses. I think that mindset gave me a little bit of encouragement. Outside of that, Ann, I was driven to do it because I really like it. I really believe in it. I saw what it did for my own family. I felt what these treatments were doing for me personally. And like a lot of things that we do when we're starting something new that's healthcare related, we talk to family and friends. And so you start bringing in people that know you, they already like you, they trust you. And do we guinea pig on them? Not really. We're doing good medicine, but it's things that are outside of the box. And if it goes well with them, it gives you confidence. confidence. And so I started my longevity stuff really with close friends, my inner network, family members, patients in the clinic then that I had been taking care of for a long time that I had really good, strong rapport with. And then they started sending me their family members and friends. And then people that were in my brick and mortar that I really didn't have that strong of a relationship with started asking about it. And so it was an easy transition because I have a strong, warm market to start with. And this is something that I learned from Alex Hormozy. Like if you can have a warm market and you can start there, just start talking to people. I put up posters in the clinic. I would send out emails. I finally got to where I wasn't bashful to mention it to them when they were in for their annual wellness exam or whatever. And once you get some momentum, then it just continues to go. As long as you're sticking to your integrity and your principles, practicing good medicine, taking really good care of people. If you get off course a little bit, it straightens itself back out. You just have to be aware, be competent, and be a little bit mendable maybe or flexible in your plan.
I want to share, this is really cool because I was kind of there at the early days when you were starting this. And now, in that you're talking about marketing, because that is something that I think was an obstacle for you, especially at the beginning. Talk about your first webinar and that you did, because I remember having these conversations. Mike, I'm going to start my webinar. Mike, I'm going to do it 2 months from now and I'm going to get, but I'm writing my whole script down, and now you're telling me you're on TikTok and everything like that. Talk about kind of the evolution, because there are a lot of doctors who struggle marketing their own practice. So how did you overcome it, and give us some insight into that?
Yeah, Mike, I still feel like I'm terrible at it, but when I look back to 2 years ago, so much better than I was. I got the advice along the way. I got a little bit of this from you, but it was really Dr. Greg Gatchell that told me, hey, just make one and title it, "This one's for the trash." So it's shooting this 90-second video, you're just going to hit delete. And I did that. I would do that 5 times every Sunday morning. And I would eventually go back and start listening to them. It's like so many things. It just takes practice. You're going to suck at it at first. It's really not in many people's nature to create content, but you have to just get out there and do it. You're right. It took me way too long to do my first webinar. It was atrocious. I had 12 people sign up for it. 6 of them showed up for it. They were all employees.
My first webinar, the only person that showed up was my sister and my husband. That was it. But I gave
Did they
it
buy?
anyway.
Did they buy?
Of course not.
One
They
thing
didn't
about
buy. But I did ask them not to put down Trung as their last name. So I feel like it looks like they were real prospect. But hey, you got to start somewhere. Everybody start at zero. It's like learning to ride a bike. You didn't ride the bike the first time you got on a bike, and you got to learn somewhere. And every time you fall down, you get better and better. And my first YouTube video 5 years ago now was horrible. And I did like at least 20 takes just for a 5-minute video. And then I finally gave up after 20 takes. I was like, I'm done. And I look at it now and I'm like, oh my God, but I still leave it on my channel. So that way it shows me where I was and where I am now. And I think that your thinking is that you're in a growth mindset. And oftentimes doctors would tell us, like, I don't want to be on camera. Can I do a faceless video and so forth? I mean, what make you feel like got out of your comfort zone to be on camera?
And it's probably for the same reason that you did. You want it to succeed. You don't want to go broke. And I think we recognize that to get the type of clients that you want in a cash-based practice, you're going to have to be out there as a leader, showing yourself as a trendsetter, as somebody that's on not the bleeding edge, but it's progressive in healthcare, especially when we're doing things like you do and like what I do with longevity medicine. You have to be willing and be brave enough to show that that's who you are as a person. And the other thing that I think I've gotten better at is coming across as being more authentic. I still have ChatGPT write a bunch of my stuff, but I'm much more likely to be able to present it with a lot of integrity and authenticity. And it's not because my ideas have changed or what I do has changed much. It's more just because I've had so much experience now that I really believe in what I'm doing. I know the benefit that it gives my clients. And so speaking with confidence is going to come with time. The only way you're going to get there is to get off the couch, turn on the camera and hit record and start saying stuff. You may have to trash a bunch of them, but go back, like you said, a couple of years, 5 years down the road, and you're going to look back and see how far you've come.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to fail. Failure sometimes is not a bad thing either. But as doctors, you know how we are. The older you get, the longer you've been in practice, it's hard to sometimes think that you should fail in order for you to learn. And throughout this journey, what lesson did you learn from the past 2 years? What lesson would you learn, and what would you say to our listeners to be aware of?
There are so many things, Anne. I mean, if I could maybe just pass on a little bit of advice, I would say that, and I know you guys are mentors, and I would choose either one of you and recommend you highly any day of the week. It's important to have a mentor
Thank you.
as you get into something new like this to avoid common mistakes. There's a lot of truth about what a coach, if Mike, do you have a pickleball coach? If not, you ought to, because
I've
you're
got
going to
three of
learn
them.
how not to get free. Yeah, probably all in therapy for it too, but a coach and a mentor is going to help us not recreate the mistakes that they are so aware of. We're so aware of clinical pearls and what we learned from the people that trained us. Those of us that have been in medicine for a long time, we know those clinical pearls that we feel so good to pass on to a medical student or a resident or a nurse practitioner. And it's the same thing in business. It's the same thing in marketing. There's so many things that we don't know yet as doctors in this world of business and cash-based practice. You can spend a decade going down the wrong rabbit holes over and over again. I think getting the right mentor and the right coach is important. And the second piece of advice is just going to be patient, be bold, understand that you're going to fail. Every time you fail, you've just learned a really important lesson. Just keep moving forward. Obstacles are there because that's the direction that we need to be going. Don't turn away from an obstacle. Be smart about getting around them and lean on your mentors and coaches to find the best way through an obstacle.
So what is the future of Revive? What's the plan?
What I'm doing with Revive currently is continuing to grow the warm market and gradually reaching out to a colder and less known market. We're doing a lot of that with joint ventures and in a little bit with social media. Where I want it to go eventually is to be able to partner with bigger corporations or bigger operations so that we can get better exposure, can leverage out more providers that I can help to train up, and ultimately have something that's capable of educating a lot of providers, educating patients on how important healthy lifestyles are, and making a difference in people's health. Passionate about eliminating chronic disease, passionate about trying to eliminate metabolic syndrome and metabolic disease, neurologic complications. So much of that we can make an impact on if we really take care of our health and what we're given and blessed with. These aren't hard lessons to learn. They're sometimes difficult to implement. So, and that was a long answer, Mike, for a pretty simple question.
I love it. I love it. And any final thoughts or anything you like?
No, I think you articulated well. Prior to COVID, I've never had a coach. And when I was struggling with going on YouTube, I paid for a coach. And that was the best thing I did. It accelerated my progress like that. Before I was going like this, trying to figure it out myself. And then I had a coach. My progress was up and forward. I never looked back. And since then, I've had a coach the whole time. And so Mike and I have had coach for a long time. And they said that you should always get a mentor that has a coach too, because you always want to up level. But for me, it's like what you said, the impact of someone been there, done that. They show you the potholes to avoid. It's kind of like you're attending. We're training as med student in a medical school. But I really want to applaud you for taking the leap in doing what you're doing, because it's quite scary. I mean, I have gone from insurance to cash and had saw 90% of my patients drop seeing me. But what I think helped both of us was that we both had established practices before we did this. You've had your practice in 2001, I believe you said that as well. And so for the doctors that are still taking insurance right now, and we know what that is like, we hope to at least open up their eyes and what's possible. You can still have a practice with you. You can still have your practice, but you delegate that to a nurse practitioner, and that open you up for more cash-based, high-end practice that leverage your time a lot more. Are you still working one-to-one right now, Steve, or are you doing group setting at all?
I work one-to-one with my higher ticket item patients, and then I have nurse practitioners that work in Revive that do like hormone replacement program and the weight management, metabolic programs. I have nurse practitioners do the majority of that.
Okay.
I choose to work where I want to work now, and that's the best part about it.
I love it because that's where I'm at, where I choose what I want to do and I do what I like to do. But you enjoy, isn't it bring the joy of medicine a lot more? Once you have more control over your schedule and who you work with, what you do, it really brings you back to where you were when you first started medicine. Do you feel like that?
100%, yes. It's been a hard journey, and my wife has thought I've lost my ever-loving mind over and over again. And I work most every day of the week, and I still do. But I would do it all over again because of the freedom and just the ability, like you said, Ann, to choose how we're going to work, who we're going to see, what the setting's going to be. That control does give you back so much joy about medicine. It makes you feel like you're making an impact.
And
Wow.
focus on the more important things in life, like the Dallas Stars hockey team.
Yes. Who needs some longevity medicine? They're just getting throttled with injuries right now.
There you go. That could be your dream job.
Yeah, exactly. But
Make it
thank
happen.
you. Thank you, Steve, for being on the Dr. Boss podcast and YouTube channel. And I want to put a plug in. Our doctors that are listening right now, we have a live event in Orlando on January 15, 2026 called Dr. Podfest. So if you ever want to grow your podcast, your YouTube channel, and growing online and grow your brand and create impact, then come to Dr. Podfest. It's a one-day event, a part of the bigger event called Podfest Expo. And we'll put the sign-up link right here, or you can go on the URL drpodfest.com to sign up, because it's the first time we've ever run this. Our inaugural event is going to be one of the best. Mike and I will be there, as well as other people that have done it, that are top podcasters, will be there at that event. Pat Flynn, as well as John Lee Dumas, will also talk, and they're like they're one of the top podcasters in the world, really, as well. So it's sometimes when you go to an event that's not related to medicine, you actually meet people who open doors for you that you wouldn't know even existed. That had happened to me 3 years ago when I attended the podcast event, and now I'm collaborating with two people right now on deals right now that will be a big project that I'm going to be very proud of. Steve, I want you to invite you to that event, and our listeners, check out drpodfest.com for the event. And we appreciate you, Steve. We are very proud of what you're doing. And just remember, you are just not a doctor. You are a Dr. Boss. So see you in the next episode, and see you in Orlando, Florida. Take care.
Thank you.